Southampton 1, Liverpool 2. To the final day it goes. Takumi, Minamino and Joel Matip completing the South Coast rescue mission for Jurgen Klopp's Reds to keep the title race alive. This is the debrief here on the Blood Red channel. I'm Guy Clarke. Alongside me, Liverpool.com editor Matt Addison. And well, Matt, 9 changes, but same Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly that. It was a good performance, a dominant performance, wasn't it, from Liverpool? It was one where they had to obviously come from behind and show a bit of character, but I think Southampton didn't really have a great deal, did they? They didn't really show until right at the end. They had a couple of little crosses into the box, which Liverpool dealt with, but generally speaking, it was pretty dominant, fairly straightforward for them. They obviously had to go and find that goal, and it's a nice finish in the end from Joel Matip. I'm pretty sure it is. That might be an own goal, but it was a good direction certainly to put the ball into the back of the net, and yeah, it takes it to the final day. So for now, at least, the quadruple is still on for Liverpool. Obviously, it's still, I would say, a fairly small chance that Manchester City will drop points on the final day, but you never know. And Liverpool's job tonight was to make sure that they got themselves into a position really where that was still a possibility, and that's all they can do. That's all they have done. They've done that and taken it to the final day. And like I say, you just never know from this position. So yeah, Liverpool have done their job. They couldn't have done any more really tonight. And I think after such a grueling 2 hours against Chelsea, to make those changes and to still be fairly comfortable tonight, it says a lot about the character, but it also says a lot about the strength of the squad really that Jurgen Klopp can turn to. And as I say, it was fairly comfortable. And when you see some of the names there, Takumi Minamino's first Premier League start, Harvey Elliott's first one since September, you go through that team and there's a few kind of unfamiliar names almost, but they made it look fairly straightforward in the end.
Yeah, most definitely. I think in the end it will go down as a Joel Matip goal. I think Walker-Peters may well have headed it almost onto Matip. He kind of just bowed down into the right direction and it came off his head and looped into the back of the net. But the Reds won't care how they go in at this stage. Calvin's got in touch. Good evening. We've plenty in the chat box. Savage said, can we invite Gerard in for a meeting? I think he's on about a game plan for Aston Villa ahead of their visit to the Etihad. And JL says, love it up the Reds. Leave your thoughts in the chat box. We'll try and get as many of them on screen as we can and give us your thoughts on the game. We would love to hear them. But Matt, I suppose of those players coming in, the 9 changes, who were the ones who really took your eye? Roberto Firmino, he's kind of been the forgotten man this second half of the season, but showed exactly what he's done for Liverpool for years and years with a big performance when it really matters. And as we've already said, Takumi Minamino, first start, but he got himself on the score sheet.
Yeah, 2 really good performances from those two. I think Roberto Firmino in particular was good. I thought he looked a little bit kind of maybe not nervous, but certainly not particularly sharp at the weekend and wasn't particularly great. But that was, a completely different performance here. He's obviously started the game, and I think that's one of those things that you can certainly say with a few players. Firmino is definitely one of them. I think he's much better when he starts and he can kind of get into the rhythm of the game from minute 1 rather than trying to adjust to it and come off the bench. And I think we saw that tonight. I think it was a really good performance from him. Like you say, the kind of typical things really that you expect to see with Roberto Firmino. We've not always seen it this season, partly because of injury and partly because of a bit of a lack of form. But I think he just knitted everything together really well. And Southampton didn't look particularly comfortable trying to play the ball out from the back. There was a couple of moments really where they looked a little bit shaky and nervous themselves. And I think obviously part of that is what Roberto Firmino does really, the instigator in terms of putting them under that pressure. And he's the one that kind of sets it all off. So yeah, it was a really good performance from him. And I want to pick out Harvey Elliott as well. As I say, it's been a long time since we've saw him start in a Premier League match, but I thought he was really excellent tonight when he was on the pitch as well. I think he was slightly unlucky to kind of come off, but I think that's just purely the fact that he's not played many minutes. It's nearly 2 months since he last played for Liverpool's first team. Obviously played a couple of times for the under-23s in that period, but yeah, it's been a frustrating 2022, I think it's fair to say, for Harvey Elliott. So yeah, it was great to see him back on, and obviously the quality that he's got. We've seen him start in big games in the first half of the season for Liverpool. Hasn't quite happened for him since the injury, and they've been very, very careful with him. But I think tonight we saw the best of him again. So yeah, there's not too many more opportunities for these players to kind of show that before the end of the season. We might not see Harvey Elliott again this season, I don't know, but I think that was another reminder really that we shouldn't forget about him. And next season, hopefully he stays injury free, and if Liverpool have got another player who's obviously very good in that midfield, but also slightly different as well, and offers you something that the other players can't really do. He is kind of that link, isn't he, between the midfield and the attack, and I think that's something we're going to see more and more and more. It was, just a real reminder of the quality and the talent that he's got tonight. Really good performance from him.
Yeah, Drive Time's saying, no nails left, you'll never walk alone. We know exactly how you're feeling on that. Paul says, Liverpool's second 11 beat Southampton 2-1. What a squad. And it's something that Gil's also referenced as well. Squad depth really improved from when we couldn't string a defensive line together to save our lives last season. And I suppose that is exactly what tonight highlights, doesn't it? That ability to put together almost a completely different 11, 9 changes for Jurgen Klopp from the FA Cup final, and yet we see in many ways such a dominant performance. I know Liverpool went behind, but they completely dominated all phases of the game around that, and equally even in the build-up to the Southampton goal, a very debatable decision as to whether or not Diogo Jota should actually have had a free kick right on the edge of the opposition penalty area. But Matt, one thing we've got to talk about is the title race. You said before, Liverpool have done all they can, and that's certainly the position they find themselves in. They've taken it to the final day. Never in Premier League history have the side who have gone into the final day leading not been the side who have lifted the title at the end of the day. Time for a change, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd certainly say so. I mean, Manchester City have kind of almost slipped up on the last day in the past, haven't we? We all know what happened on that particular occasion. So there's been times where it's come close, and eventually it is going to happen. So fingers crossed that is this weekend. I think the big narrative is going to be around Steven Gerrard and Philippe Coutinho, and can they do Liverpool a favour? I think there is a chance. There is an opportunity really for Aston Villa. I know their squad and their players won't particularly have much riding on it. They won't particularly be that bothered about doing anything for Liverpool, but obviously Steven Gerrard is going to do his best to try and get a performance out of his players. And I don't know, it's one of those where you just never know what can happen. Manchester City have got a few injuries themselves. We talk about a patched up sort of back line for Liverpool tonight. They've had kind of similar issues themselves, albeit they've got Nathan Ake on the bench that for some reason they don't seem to want to use at the moment. But that's another story entirely. They've got
all right when you got a £40 million centre back on the sidelines. I mean, Liverpool for a lot of the season have had that in Ibrahima Konate, but he's come so good right at the telling part of the season.
Yeah, exactly. And Liverpool's squad depth is there. We all know the quality that Liverpool have got. I'd fancy Liverpool to win again, obviously at Anfield against Wolves. So yeah, it's just a case really of keeping your fingers crossed, and I'm sure plenty of people will be keeping an eye on the other match as well, the Manchester City one during that one. And yeah, you just never know. It's the fact that it's even still a possibility at this moment that Liverpool can win all 4 trophies, I just think is a massive testament to them. And if ultimately they fall a point short at the end of the league campaign, then so be it. They could well end up with the Champions League. They've already got the other 2 trophies. I don't think, if that is the eventuality, and hopefully it's a little bit more, but even if it is that, no one is ever going to get closer to doing the quadruple. So yeah, it's been a remarkable season, whatever happens. But fingers crossed, there is just that one more twist.
Well, Gil's got back in and says Real Madrid had 1% chance of reaching the Champions League final at 89 minutes in their semi-final with Man City. Crazy things have happened in football previously. Del Boys dropped in with a couple of comments. That one there saying, if we beat Wolves and Villa beat City, then let's give Gerrard a medal. Of course, Jurgen Klopp in the build-up to tonight's game, saying that the FA need to give Liverpool more medals for the FA Cup win. And he also knows it wasn't Liverpool's strongest 11 and they won the game, but it was lacklustre. I suppose it is a game of opinions, but I think personally it showed an awful lot of the depth and the trust, I think, as well, Matt, that Jurgen Klopp has in every single member of his squad. Rich saying the quad's still on.
Yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it, for someone like Takumi Minamino to just be thrown in. He's not played any football for so long. He can't have been, match fit and sharp. And Jurgen Klopp spoke to Sky before the game, and he was kind of talking about that of kind of, yes, these players are fresh and they've not had 2 hours of football in the legs from the weekend, but they've not played for so long. They've not played together before. You look at that back 4, I don't think those 4 players will have lined up before at all. Certainly not for very long if they have done. It's one of those where I think someone like Minamino is just so underrated in their ability to be able to come into the team. And it's 10 goals this season for him. Liverpool have got 5 players now with 10 or more goals this season, which again is another big step forward from what we've seen in the past. They've been kind of reliant on Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane for goals at times in the past, but this season it's been spread about much more. And yeah, we've said it plenty of times that the squad depth is incredible. And yeah, it would be incredible if they could go on and win the quadruple, but whatever happens, they can be proud of their efforts this season. Every single one of them, from Minamino, who's kind of jumped in and out and done. I'm pretty sure I saw a stat before actually that he'd scored a goal with every single shot on target he's had this season, which if that's true, then that's a remarkable one as well. But yeah, every bit of the squad has been used. Divock Origi getting another appearance today. Who knows whether that's his last minutes in a Liverpool shirt. Yeah, there's just so many stories, so many narratives, isn't there, to get into with Liverpool. But yeah, a few days of the season left. Hopefully there's one more twist, one more narrative with Steven Gerrard to come on Sunday.
Yeah, and Mike says, what a season, whatever happens. We've got a couple more yet. There we go. There's the Minamino stat, 11 shots, 11 goals. Delboy saying that he hopes that Salah is going to be ready for the game on Sunday as well. And plenty of people giving their sort of credit to or hopes that Steven Gerrard can get something going for Liverpool. We'll have to wait and see how it does play out, but it is going to be a nervy, nail-biting, frenetic end to the Premier League season. It looks as though nothing is set, but crucially, right at the top of the table, we know, Matt, it's heading to the final day, and it's going to be some event, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's one of those that you look forward to. And for Liverpool, again, they've just got to do their own job, and you just never know, do you? We've seen stranger things happen, as the person's comment before said. There's been moments this season, even involving Manchester City, where unlikely results have happened. And I think, you look at the teams that have taken points off them. You obviously look at Southampton being one of them. It was a team that defended tight, sat deep. I think that's what Aston Villa will try and do. But then they've got a bit more quality on the counter-attack as well. I do fancy Aston Villa to score a goal. It's just a case of, can they keep City out more than once? It's going to be a tough ask, I think. But you look at someone like Ollie Watkins. I think he could do a job against City's patched up defence. So we will just have to see what happens. But yeah, Liverpool got to do their own job, of course. And I think it's fair to say that I think Wolves is probably a more difficult game than Villa. So still tricky to see how Liverpool do it from this point. But you just never know. And I'm sure all the Liverpool fans will have everything crossed from now until then.
Yeah, it's that mentality Liverpool have shown throughout the course of the season. They will need it once again on Sunday. Of course, here on Blood Red, we will have you covered every step of the way in the build-up to Sunday's showdown with Wolves. And of course, with an eye across at what will be going on at the Etihad as Steven Gerrard takes his Aston Villa side to play his part in Liverpool looking to win their second league title in 3 seasons. But for myself, Guy Clarke and Matt Addison, thanks to everybody who's got involved in the chat box. We've enjoyed your interactions this evening, and Liverpool take it to the final day. For myself, Guy Clarke and Matt Addison, it's bye for now.